And I'll just edit out.
But you guys ready? Alright. Well, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Girres. I'm presenting my Titans Jam today. Start off a little about me. I was born March 26, 1998. My parents are Tim and Sherry Girres right there with my niece. That's my brother Alex Girres, and that's my sisters Steph and Christy Girres. My favorite things to do are play basketball. I was out for 3 years, 2 years varsity. Fishing, I love to do, especially when I got like a free day like today. Just go out and fish for a few hours. It's just a great feeling. Some more things I like to do: watch TV, be lazy. I also like to make a lot of money. So I'll tell you a lot about like my work experience soon. Some accomplishments during high school: honor roll for all 4 years, and high honor roll also. I was Titan Week twice, which is when you do something great around teachers and they recognize that. They'll give you a certificate to realize what you've done, and kind of like you can show it off when you graduate. I was varsity basketball player 2 years, as I said. Master ceremonies during homecoming. I don't know if any of you guys were. I'm assuming some of you might have been, but I was MC for that. And I was also a Palo Alto art show contender for 2 years, 9th and 10th grade year. 11th and 12th grade they didn't have anymore since we lost a lot of schools, so I wasn't able to fund it. But I got 2 first place and 2 second place. These are my 2 second place ones. These are my 2 first place ones. I believe these 2 are no doubt about my favorite out of all of them. Can you guys see this one? Okay. It took a lot of time on them. I probably spent like a month or 2 on each one of them, and I spent multiple hours in a day. I would go down there every study hall I had just to go down there and work on it if I had nothing else to do. Some of my volunteer work around town. I don't know if you guys do much blacksmithing or seen much of it, but I blacksmith at Albert City. They have a show every year lasting from Friday to Sunday evening, and I'd go there every Sunday to blacksmith for about 8 or 9 hours a day, showing the community how blacksmithing was done, and I'd make multiple kind of cool objects and items for the people that want to come buy them or just take them home. Like I made a spoon with my dad one time. We made ladles. We made signs, all sorts of fun stuff. Also was cooked for the Labor Day. You guys know every year Labor Day happens. It's a huge event that happens in Granger. I would be kicking down there at the Little League baseball field. I made brats, I made hamburgers, and I made hot dogs. I did that I think 3 years. That was like 2nd through 5th grade I did that just for something to do. As an Earth Day participant, every Earth Day was like 3 weeks ago. I would go around town. I'd pick up like sticks and garbage around the community. Especially around the streets, baseball parks, golf course parks, and yards. Like old ladies or old men that can't get out the yard and do so much work, I would go out there and pick up for some of them. And also I was recycling assistant for Miss Granger. As you can see, there usually is a lot of cans around here during the school day, and I was always helping her, trying to keep her up to date, because it can be stressful. I know once in a while she has middle schoolers come up here to help her, but if middle schoolers aren't up here, I try to help her out. Alright, I'm going to show you now some of my artifacts. Business law, this is my first one. This was probably one of my favorite things to do in the senior year because of the challenges I had to face. So what I did for this literature review, I had to look up a case, a contract case for ACC in Maryland. That was just one I chose because I'm really into sports, so I chose one in sport contracts. The case was about Maryland, who wanted to move to the Big Ten. I don't know if you guys follow sports much, but Maryland wanted to transfer to the Big Ten. Mostly for sports reasons. It would be like a lot more viewership and could bring some more recruits to the school. Also for higher education reasons, because the Big Ten is known for great education around America. So they had a lot of issues trying to leave the ACC. ACC didn't want them to leave because that's a pretty profitable school leaving one of their conferences. Losing that would definitely decrease the amount of money they would be bringing in from a high-quality school. So the case included ACC filing a suit against Maryland for $52 million. Maryland did not agree with this, and they ended up countersuing them for, I believe, over $150 million. They finally settled to have a suit of $30 million for a fine to leave. And what I learned from this is the difficulties of understanding what your contract is. Maryland, they were set to stay in this contract for a certain amount of years, and they could not leave the ACC. But they wanted to leave to gain profitabilities and raise their school awareness. So doing this, I had to look through all the information about the schools and why each school had a certain amount of money to a fine to leave. This shows a bunch of stuff like my technology usage. That's huge for, especially when I'm going to a field that requires a lot of technology. It was big to use technology, especially when the world is completely raising in technology and it's increasing every single day. You got to stay aware and up to date with that. Another thing it shows is I'm comprehensible and I'm a good thinker on the mind, complex thinker, because a lot of this was deep thinking and it wasn't just something you can look through Google and find. You had to do a lot of research, and I think I looked through 10 sites just to find just a little bit of information I did. My next artifact was personal finance. This was also one of my greatest achievements during my senior year. Did this last semester. I took a finals test for personal finance, and I wrote a financial summary about the information and all the experiences I had throughout my time at, during the class. So this test consists of, I think, 70 multiple choice questions in about a 2-hour time period. I did this a day where other kids went on to a PBI's trip. I wanted to stay back so I could complete this and make sure I get a great grade on it, especially when I'm busy with work and I don't get much time to sit there and focus. So during this test, I had to study big time for this, because if I didn't study for this, I probably would have failed not just a class, but I would have failed some of my personal dreams, because this is a field that I'm trying to go into. So knowing I could do a great job on this test was big for me. And then a financial summary was just, it was a fun experience, because not all the time do you actually get to write about what you learned and how the teacher helped you throughout the class. So it was fun for me to just respond to the teacher, and she took the input really well. I believe on my finals test I got 97%, which was one of my best tests, especially for a big test that impacted my grade big time. For financial summary, I believe I got 99% or almost 100%, so that was also awesome. For Iowa Core Standards, it shows many things, just like from being a complex thinker, because I had to think for a financial summary what I really wanted to tell this teacher about how well I did in this class and what she did well for me. Also, it shows that I'm an ethical user of technology, because the entire financial summary and test were online. It wasn't at college, so it was big so I could look through information and use the technology way so I could achieve my goals. Intro to business. This was junior year, very last semester, junior year. So what I did for this was I created a business. My business took place in Emmitsburg, Iowa. It was named Hometown Girres. So I had to look up the market for the Emmitsburg. I like go through all the restaurants, such as Pizza Hut, Subway, and Pizza Ranch. I got to show, I could compare to them. Their hours I had to look at. They were like open like 8 to 9. What would I do to improve? I would try to go like 7 a.m. to like midnight, or to 1 a.m. or something like that. So that way I could get a competitive advantage over the other people. I also had to get financial needs, like how much money I would need to start up, and I would also need like how much lighting or how much tables I would need, and like what I would serve to the customers to draw them in. I also had to show where I wanted this building and special features. I believe in this Hometown Grillers, I had a thing where in the summer, like July through I think it's July through August, I'd have a pontoon for rent that you could go out there and have a fine night to dine with your wife and have special food and have like some kind of band play that we can have a special evening. I had to do this only during certain months that were actually nice out, because I'm not going to have a pontoon out in the middle of December, because people probably wouldn't enjoy that so much. What I learned from this is how a business operates. I didn't get into the very small details. I clearly won't be able to go out and start my own business today. I'd have to do a lot more information about it. But this gave me the overall view. I got to look at all the little, like all the big picture things, like where I should set up my business, who would I be looking at clientele, how would I advertise my business. I also learned how to just describe what I took in from information from all the websites and other businesses, how they run, and how I could take that in to make my business more profitable than theirs. For Iowa Core Standards, this shows I'm a complex thinker, because clearly I had to do some complex thinking to show how I can make my business more profitable. Also shows an ethical use of knowledge, of technology, because a lot of this was on online, and showing how I used Google and Yahoo and all those, and then going through all the websites to kind of show, like Pizza Ranch website, I see their hours, shows I can able to find all the information I needed. The next one was business math. This was this year. This was a team project. What I had to do is I had to go online. I went to Yahoo personal statements for Nike. I had to show their ratios, profitability ratios. This was from like the asset ratios, inventory ratios. I had to go up and see how many assets they have, how much revenue they have, and their total cost of sales throughout the years. I would divide them out in each category, and it would give me a number, like 2% or say. If it was below 1%, that means the business would have a big time struggling if there was a sudden decrease of customers coming in. They probably wouldn't be able to overcome that. If their ratio was above 1%, we'll say, that means that they are doing a great job managing their money and personal financing their money. So just in case, if a bunch of customers start slowing down, business is slow, nasty weather for like 3 straight weeks, they would be able to okay. What this shows for Iowa standards, clearly it shows that I'm ethically using knowledge of technology again. I'm sorry about that. Because one, it was all done online. I didn't use any textbooks, any papers at all. This is all on Keynote, and also this is all on Yahoo Finances. Also to use other websites to try to help me find information I needed. Also shows I'm a complex thinker, because I had to think about all the ratios I had to find and what they meant to the business and how they would impact the business. Another thing this shows is I'm a great group member. For this project, it was for a group. It was kind of unfortunate because my group members were a little bit slackative. I know 2 of you were my teachers back in the day, and you know there's students that don't do as much as other students. I was one of the students that did almost the entire project. I told other people what to do. They didn't really want to do it, so I had to pick up the slack, and I wanted to make sure I got a good grade because this was for semester final, so I would have dropped my grade from an A to a C immediately. So I made sure stuff got done, and I would take on extra stress and extra overload just to make sure it got done. For social studies, this was done my junior year. This was an interesting one. It was the 2015 campaign. This was a school-wide campaign. So my guy here, Rufus Watkins, handsome little fellow, we would try to go around the school and campaign and try to get people to vote for us. We had another guy named Sylvester we were going against, and this guy, Sylvester, was the bad guy. We didn't want him. So we had to show people what was good about us and pros about us. My part in this project was to raise money. So how I would raise money was making presentations, making topic papers, and doing research. All those gave me money. I raised $3,300 out of my group. I think the next person in my group raised only $1,500. I believe my teacher said that was the most money ever raised. Probably, I don't think there's anyone else that has raised over $3,000. So that was a great goal for me, is I was able to raise a bunch of money and ended up leading victory for my guy Rufus. What it shows me and what it taught me is how to be a team player. I knew what my part was. It wasn't to go around a school telling people what to vote for or why you should vote this person. My part of this project was to do my job, and that was to make money, because I love making money. You guys know that. So I was having a great time making money. I felt good about making all this money. What I can take away from Iowa Standards is how I'm a team manager and team project member. I did my part. I know how to be in a group, and I know how to communicate with my partners what I'm going to do, and I proved that to them that I can do my part. So I'm an ethical user of technology because I went online, looked up all the information, the pros, and why I should write presentation on this and not on some other object, like why gun welfare should be profitable and why it should not be, why abortion is good or why it's bad. So I had to look up all the information. I had to write a bunch of presentations and papers, so that's why I'm an ethical user of technology. This one is English. This was one of my favorite books I've ever read. Of Mice and Men. I don't know if you guys read it, but it was the greatest book I've ever read, I believe, in high school. I had so much fun reading this book because all the little things in that book played a big part inside the story. I know it's about this guy named George right here, and a guy named Lenny. George is a smart one out of two. Lenny is the kind of the dumb one. George was always protecting Lenny, and Lenny always had a sad obsession with things such as mice, led to dogs, and then led to a gal's hair. So what happened was, during the story, George would constantly have to look up for Lenny. And one of the things that was awesome to me between reading this book is how the little parts, such as the old man Candy's dog, played as the old man Candy's dog was dying. So when he died, George had thought about how he got shot. He got shot in the back of the head in a certain way that the dog would feel no pain. And this led to be a big part because George, later in the story, after Lenny had made a huge impact on the story, would remember how the dog died to kill Lenny in a certain way, that Lenny wouldn't be tortured. Because Lenny was in big trouble, and if he would have been tortured the way that he was going to be tortured from the guy, it probably would have been bad news for George, and Lenny would have been in jail for the rest of his life, or tortured so bad that he probably would have died from misery. What I learned from this is to read every story and read everything I read with a purpose. Even the little things that you don't think make an impact, make a huge impact in the story. This story definitely had a bunch of little things that made a huge part of the story, and I didn't know how much it really impacted me. Now that I go back to the past 12 grades of high school, not high school, but 12 grades of school, I never realized that all those books had little passages that would play a big part in the story and how the story plot was made. So what this Iowa Core Standards are is, I'm a complex thinker because this book had a lot of little details, and I had to think of all those little details, and I had to predict what the future of the book might be like. I was completely wrong, but I had some close ones, close predictions. But now that I look back at it, I can think of those little things and how they play together, and how the foreshadowing in the book played a huge part. I never realized it would be such a big part, but now I know that all the little passages I read need to be thought through a little bit more than what they usually have thought through by me. Science. This was through about 4 years of science. Mr. Benedict found this cool website called explorelearning.com. So what there was on there was gizmos, just like as this one says. The cool part about this is gizmos weren't just done for one class like biology. It was also for chemistry, animal science, anatomy, physics, physical science. The cool part about it was too that it was like a personal lab you did online, and it wasn't like a messy lab that you did in the back of the room where all the kids would find a fascination of throwing stuff around and destroying stuff, because we all know that's expensive and you can't replace it every year when it costs thousands of dollars. So what we did, we had a bunch of labs that we did online to show how things played out. I'll have an example on here, just as this one. So what you do is you would see like the hawk, this is like the food chain and how things play out. So there's like, you see 42 hawks, like 2,700 grass seeds on there. You kind of see how how many hawks would eat snakes and how many snakes would eat rabbits, how many rabbits would eat grass. And then when you press play, it would kind of like change.